Hey guys, it's Brandon Miniman from Pocketnow.com, and this is a Pocketnow throwback to the HTC Ozone, a Windows Mobile 6.1 standard phone. Let's get to it. So this phone was released in June 2008, so it's almost 2 years ago now that we saw this phone. It was actually released as the HTC Snap in Europe first, and then it came to the US on Verizon as the Ozone, and then it went to Sprint as the Snap. So the really cool thing about this phone is the keyboard. This was one of the last front-facing QWERTY keyboard devices that HTC made. Right now they're doing a lot of side-sliding QWERTY keyboards, and also, of course, the slab form factor with the on-screen display. But a lot of people really appreciated having this really nice on-screen keyboard, sort of BlackBerry style. So let's take a tour around the device. Here we've got a tiny 2.4-inch QVGA screen, so that would be 240 down and 320 across. It was capable of displaying a mere 65,000 colors. So not the best display on the planet. It's obviously not touch screen. We've got a lot of hardware buttons down here. We've got the D-pad with a selection button. We've got a tap and hold to access Microsoft Voice Command. We've got the power button, soft keys. It's really cumbersome to actually use this today because I'm so used to using touch screens, I keep wanting to touch the screen, and it's almost frustrating having to operate everything with the hardware keys. But as people from the Windows Mobile days knew, using hardware buttons to get around in the operating system actually could be very, very fast with keyboard shortcuts and other things built in to the operating system. We've got an LED notification up here to tell you if you've got a missed call or a voicemail. The device was actually pretty thick, even though it had not much to it. Inside it has a Qualcomm processor running at 528 megahertz. It's got 192 megabytes of RAM, so definitely nothing even close to what you get today. And I mentioned the thickness because look at the thickness of the Ozone compared to the Desire HD. It is thicker than a device that is many times more powerful, and of course it has a larger screen. But very interesting to see. This was definitely a thick device. So we've got the volume up and down rocker over here. On the bottom we had HTC's EXT proprietary USB port. Fortunately, this also worked with mini USB chargers. If you wanted to get headphone audio output, you'd have to connect an adapter, which was really annoying. Around this time, the HTC started to make all of their phones with 3.5mm headphone jacks, eliminating the need for that annoying adapter. Over here on the right, we have nothing, and it is completely blank on the top. On the back, we've got a 2-megapixel camera, no flash. We've got a speaker, kind of a nice-looking silvery backing. And if we pop off the back battery cover, we'll see the 1,500 milliamp hour battery. Really good battery life on the Snap and the Ozone. And underneath the battery, you will find a SIM card slot because this was a world-capable phone for business users, perhaps. Okay, so let's talk more about the software here. Again, we're running Windows Mobile 6.1 Standard, the non-touchscreen version of Windows Mobile. They went on to do Windows Mobile 6.5 Standard, and then they killed it. So this is sort of almost towards the end of Windows Mobile's lifespan. And what we have here is kind of a nice-looking sort of pane interface where you can slide the pane down, select different things, and swipe right to left. I say swipe, but I mean hit the D-pad right to left. See your new messages. You could scroll through pictures. You can see your emails. You can scroll through them in this pane without having to actually jump into the email application. We can look through text messages. We can go into the weather application and select a city. Let's type Philadelphia. Here we go. And there it comes, weather for Philadelphia. There we go, nice little forecast there, and if you tap on that, you should get some more information. A nice little forecast. This was an HTC edition. They kind of added their own tweak to Windows Mobile 6.1. Down here we've got favorites, which you can flip through any of the favorites that you want. Down here you can change your profile, and then some things like getting started, but then you can remove this, if I remember at the end, remove getting started, and it is gone after it reloads the home screen. So let's talk about how you actually use this device. Up here at the top, we've got a place where you see your notifications, you see your system indicators. You can see that there's a new email. Of course, because this is not touch screen, you can't reach up and touch the picture of the envelope to access email. You'd have to get it to it in another way. So we can go to the start screen and we can see all of the programs. This is really ugly a way to see the programs. And you can add speed dial, which means that you can actually use the keyboard to launch certain programs. If you correspond, say, Windows Media Player to 3, you open up the start menu, you press 3, and then you're there. Now going down here, we've got Internet Explorer, really probably the most poor internet browsing experience of any device that we have around here can be found on this device. And let me show you why. So I'm going to go to web address, and it's hidden in a menu. We can do a little backspace here to delete everything. Let's just go to Pocketnow.com. Very good keyboard, by the way. That was definitely one of the shining points of this device. And we can click Go. And we're over Wi-Fi right now, so it should be relatively fast. It's going to load up the mobile version. So we get this little mouse pointer thing that lets us move around on the page. We can zoom out to get a sort of zoomed out view. Let's load the desktop version, see how it fares with the full heavy graphics version of Pocketnow.com. Now, there are a lot of third-party browsers for Windows Mobile, Skyfire being one of them, which actually worked really, really well on the standard devices, the non-touchscreen Windows Mobile phones. But for some reason, and I'm going to show you this in a second, you can't access Skyfire anymore. You'll see why. So it's loading right now. It can actually load some Flash content, which was pretty cool. I think this is based on the IE6 engine. And right now it's not responding because it's loading a pretty heavy page. This was a big problem with Windows Mobile. It would slow down and freeze a lot. Yep, we are frozen here. The thing has stopped spinning. Let's go back to the home screen. Okay, so we had to get out of that. And now maybe if we go back into Internet Explorer, who knows what will be there. Oh, here it is. Pocketnow's back. So we can move around on the page. You can see the microscopic scroll bars on the right side there. I'm going to hit stop and so that we can actually zoom out and see the page in its entirety. So here we go. So there you go, a reasonably good view. It took a while to load, but if you want to zoom in on a particular spot, you press zoom in. Here you are, you can go from here. In terms of the menu options, we can, of course, go to web address, add to favorites, go to your home page, check out your history, and then you can switch between mobile view or desktop view. You can also go full screen, which helps a little bit when browsing these web pages. So anyhow, let's go back to the home screen and talk about the other built-in programs of Windows Mobile 6.1 standard. So we've got the default stuff, calendar and contacts. So if we go into calendar, we can switch between week view and month view. Kind of a very plain interface, which is why Microsoft scrapped this in favor of Windows Phone 7. Windows Media Player, which with a lot of finagling would work with your desktop software, but it wasn't as easy as, for example, Zune is today, where you download an album, you send it to your device, you can do it wirelessly on Windows Phone 7. We've got Office Mobile here, and some of these let you actually edit, and most of them don't, so they're mostly readers. Let's go back to the previous screen. We've got the settings, the list view of settings, and there's no other way to look at this. Really ugly, and if you wanted to get to a setting that is on the third page, you'd have to go to the right, to the right, to the right. Just not an intuitive way to adjust settings there. And let's click Done. See what else we have here. Adobe Reader, so you could view PDFs. Voice command, which is always helpful, so you can, let's try it. What time is it?
The time is 10:14 a.m.
So Microsoft Voice Command always worked really well in Windows Mobile, and of course today on Windows Phone 7 and Android and iOS, there are tools that you can use to get voice recognition. Here in Albums, it's just kind of the built-in album program. This is actually skinned by HTC, so a little bit of an upgrade from what you get in stock Windows Mobile 6.1. So there's the goldfish you may recognize from other devices. We can zoom in from here, although it's a little bit imprecise without a touchscreen, certainly. So let's get out of here. Go back. See what else we have. Active Sync, of course, the way that Windows Mobile would synchronize with Outlook and with your tasks and everything. Microsoft Active Sync. Right now I've got it hooked up to Exchange, so it just says connected. We've got the camera application, Bluetooth Explorer, a lot of other stuff. File Explorer, which of course Windows Phone 7 lacks now. Get Applications, that's just a shortcut to get some apps. MP3 trimmer, modem link, so you could tether. There wasn't an app store on this particular device. It wasn't until Windows Mobile 6.5 when you could access, they called it the Windows, what do they call it? The Windows Marketplace for mobile. And right now, it's still in existence. It doesn't have that many apps, maybe 2,000 apps, many of which are pretty expensive. But certainly, Microsoft has done a pretty good job with the Windows Phone 7 App Store, which is now on every device and hooks up with Zune very nicely. So that was pretty much it. And then you got the games, of course. Whoops. If you went to games, you probably recognize Bubble Breaker and Solitaire, of course, the quintessential Windows mobile games of the past. And the email experience was very good on this device. So if we jump into email, go back to the home screen to do that. And here we are in the email application. It's very easy to use with the keyboard. It was fantastic. If you wanted to search, I think they had that. You just start typing. Nope, not in this version. But speaking of just type, one of the greatest parts of Windows Mobile 6.1 Standard is sort of a Palm WebOS-like feature, the just type. So here I'm on the home screen. I want to call Matt. I type M-A-T-T. Boom. Instantly, there's Matt's information. I can call him right from here. Really quick and easy to do that in Windows Mobile Standard. So the HTC Ozone was a really cool device, kind of modeled out off of the BlackBerry kind of form factor with the QWERTY keyboard below the non-touch screen. It was a cool device. It wasn't that popular. In 2008, we were seeing the transition from non-touch to touch, and today you'd be really hard-pressed. In fact, you wouldn't be able to find a smartphone running on Android or Windows Phone that didn't have a touch screen. So this was pretty much the end of the line in terms of the non-touch screen interfaces. And you know, a lot of people were sad to see it go because after a lot of practice, you could become extremely efficient and fast with the non-touch screen interface. So if you like this throwback, please give us a thumbs up and thank you for watching. That's it for now.